Father God, we just thank you for the beautiful, beautiful weather and the way you send that just when we need it. We thank you for our county and our country. We ask you would bless us and give us wisdom, and we ask it all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
All right, we're going to start off with our public communication. This 3-minute time slot where anyone can get up and say their piece. Is there anyone that would like to make a statement? Otherwise, we'll move on to our court agenda. We have some pullouts in our consent agenda. Goliad Auto Parts, $1,573.48. Motion to approve, please. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Motion carries. Goliad Auto Service, $52.50. Motion to approve, please.
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Motion carries. Highway Garage, $655. Motion to approve, please.
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention.
Motion carries. Commissioner Brumby, $463.05. Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention.
Motion carries. The remainder of the consent agenda, questions, comments? Otherwise, need a motion to approve that, please.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, approval of the EVS 6.1 reporting standard standalone EMS system. Norma?
Thank you. Good evening. I have here Matt to speak on the new ES&S equipment we are looking to purchase.
Hi, Judge, Commissioners. Thanks a lot. I've been working with Mary Ellen's office for quite some time on this. We probably would have gotten it done sooner, but I got really sick with COVID, so fortunately I'm back and I was able to come. But there was some security grant funds that were made available in the last couple of years in the state to get everybody's voting system upgraded to a more secure version, and that's what we've been working on. So the proposal in front of you is to essentially replace your current voting system with the same like-for-like or piece-for-piece equipment as your older version with the newer version of that older version. So some of the advantages of that are it's going to be more secure, but it's still going to give your citizens the same voting experience. They can still vote on a paper ballot, a traditional ballot. It's going to automate a few more things for Norma, which is going to make it a little bit easier since she's the new elections administrator. But the equipment essentially replaces exactly what you have with just the newer version of what you have. So nothing's going to change on the voter end as far as how they vote. The security grant was for a total of $120,000 with a match. $40,000 of that does not require a match. So if you'll see, you have a quote for, I believe, about $108,489.90, and then the standalone computer that Norma's going to run her software on is about $4,088. So once you subtract the $40,000 that doesn't require a match, and you add the remainder of that together, the county's 20% match is going to be a little bit over 14,000. So the advantage to the county, unlike a lot of other counties that upgraded their systems before this grant money was available, you guys get to do it for a little over 14,000 instead of having to pay the full amount out of county funds. So that's why we're here to discuss and help get this approved so that we can keep the county in compliance with all the new legislation that passed this summer regarding election security. Do you gentlemen have any questions?
Are paper ballots still in use?
When you say paper ballot, you mean hand marked ballot?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Our system allows you to use that ballot and then also the ADA device that would replace your automark also provides a paper trail, which is what's required by the legislation. And the legislation was actually patterned after our voting system. So the new equipment you're getting is what the legislation was actually created from. Not electronic machines as some counties have used in the state in the past.
How long is this will this type of voting system work for us before we have to update or anything? Is there an upgrade coming down the line?
No, in our industry, we generally don't see any changes for 10 to 15 years. A lot of my counties in Texas have used our system for over 20 years. The one thing that we do that none of our competitors do is we build parts out for 20 years. So if this system meets your needs, you guys can use it for 20 years. You should be fine. Gives you a little bit better return on your investment than
Right.
having to swap it out in 10 years, which a lot of counties do. So when we talked about the new system, I've been meeting with them for probably a year and a half on it. We wanted to make sure that nothing was really going to change for the voters, from their perspective, but that all of the new security encryption was going to be included, so there's less chance of any type of hacking or anything, which wasn't really possible before, but this makes it even harder. All of our system is standalone, nothing's connected to the internet, it's all standalone pieces. So, and you guys were already offering paper, so you already had a way to audit your elections. This is just going to comply with the new legislation and give you the newer, more secure equipment. That's all it's going.
Okay, I have a question then.
Yes, sir.
You're saying that we will not have any of this equipment attached to the internet?
Correct.
Everything will be standalone, like you said, and none of it will be connected?
Just plugged into a power outlet.
Yeah, I heard on other voting equipment that you could somehow weigh a ballot. Like if you're in a homeowners association or whatever, you could make one ballot be equal to one, and you could have another ballot would be less than one, because for whatever the size of the house or whatever was smaller, so that the count could be manipulated through some of your not your software, but through some of the software. Is that a possibility here?
No, it's not. I've never heard of that, to be honest with you. The ballots that your county uses for an election is a special weight ballot, okay? And
A special what? Special weight?
it has a special paperweight to it. So
Oh, special paperweight?
yes,
Okay.
you can't just make a copy on a copy machine, okay? We use a special weight, and all of the scanners that count the ballots at the polling location, they have actual sensors to test the thickness of the ballot. But also, from Norma's end, on the election side, she has a number of checks and balances, so she's going to know how many people checked in and received a ballot. She's going to know by the counts on the scanners, she's going to be able to match that up with how many people checked in, how many ballots were actually scanned into the scanner, and then obviously the nice thing about having a paper system is it can always be fully audited, which the state will be. They'll be making more structured audits than you've even done in the past. That's going to be coming around the bend. So all of that will be audited to make sure that the number of voters that checked in, that their ballots match up, the quantity of ballots you have match up with the number of voters. And then she has electronic poll books that are going to keep track of all that as well. So there are a number of checks and balances involved in elections. It's not just simply, You know, if you were hand counting and doing other things, that might make a difference. But since they're being counted and scanned and falling into a locked ballot box, the chance of something like that happening is really zero.
Okay, so you're also saying that every person who votes will have a paper ballot trail, goes into the locked box.
Correct.
You were saying something about ADA or whatever, that you had a machine that you could punch stuff on, but it generates a ballot
Correct.
that falls into
The scanner,
the scanner.
the
but does it
precinct scanner.
Does it fall into the lock box so she'll be able
Yes,
to
sir.
see it the next day or the
Yes,
next
sir.
week or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
If an election requires a recount, a hand recount,
Okay.
then the elections office will have access to all of those ballots, and they can all be hand counted.
Well, I was under the impression, I was not the commissioner at the time, but at the last count, at the last general election, that we never got the final actual count of the ballots and whatever. There was some sort of glitch or something that we never got the final count or an accurate count or whatever, according to the judge. I spoke to the judge about that at some point. He said we never got an actual number of ballots that were cast or whatever, even though we'd already asked for them, or the court had already asked for them, or the judge had asked for them.
Okay?
So
I can't speak to that because I don't work for the clerk's office. What I can tell you is that when you have elections in counties, it depends on the size of the county, but you can have things called provisional ballots. So a lot of times you can have provisional ballots that are cast or that are taken. They're not always counted because a voter may have moved from one county to another. They're allowed to fill out a provisional ballot. So there are some instances in an election where you may have 3 or 4 more ballots that aren't actually part of the count because they were provisional, and they have to be verified after election day on whether those ballots count or not.
No, I understand provision.
You understand that? Okay.
That was not the issue that I understood.
Okay. I'm not aware of what happened in that election, but that would be, at the time, would have been the responsibility of the county clerk's office. And will fall on the elections administrator going
Correct.
forward.
And there was a little glitch in the last constitutional election so I was glad to see that she had apparently the ballots to be able to go back and count them or whatever. She
Sure.
made a miscount on something out of a precinct box or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but she had miscounted or double counted or whatever. So I'm glad there's going to be an actual ballot on every person
Yes.
that votes.
Yes.
And none of this will be connected to the internet so that no one can manipulate anything that way.
Correct. Yeah, and that's why all this legislation happened this summer, because there were about 70 counties in Texas that were still using fully electronic machines, meaning there was no paper trail at all. And that's kind of why this legislation happened. They wanted to make sure that every election could be audited to make sure that everything was proper and above board.
Do these machines have Wi-Fi modems in them?
No, sir.
Do they have a place to install a Wi-Fi modem in them?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I'll explain that to you.
Okay.
There are 15 states in the United States that allow it's a term called modeming, okay? And the state legislatures have allowed that. It's gone on for many, many years. So every voting system vendor has a product that has the capability, that sells in those states, has the capability to have a product that can do that. That's approved in those states, but it's not approved in the state of Texas. The Secretary of State's office, when they do their certifications, they go through all the equipment, they run audit logs and they do all kinds of testing. None of our equipment that we use in Texas allows that feature, but it does in other states. And the main state that does it is Florida. Florida was the first state to start it, and they still currently use it. And that's why a lot of their elections are done sooner than other states with as large as they are, is because they use that modeming technology. But it's not allowed in Texas, never has been, never will be, from what I've been told by the Secretary of State. So does our equipment have the capability to do it? Sure, in the states that it's allowed, but we don't use it in Texas.
Will they accept a thumb drive?
Our machines use a thumb drive, correct.
What's the purpose of that?
The purpose of the thumb drive is no different than you had a compact flash media card in your old scanners. It's just a memory device, and it collects. So I'll give you an idea. If I'm done voting and I go over my ballot, make sure it's correct, I'm going to go up to the scanner, just like you do now with your current system. I'm a voter. I'm going to put my ballot in. So the new scanners actually take a picture of the front and back, so they collect the serial number. Okay. They scan the ballot. The count, the electronic count for that election always goes on a thumb drive. Okay, so you're going to have about 3 to 4 different ways to audit this election. You're going to have the thumb drive. You're going to have a backup thumb drive in case anything happens to the first thumb. Okay, the backup thumb drive is never removed. It's just redundant. It's locked in a door. It's never removed unless maybe a poll worker lost that original thumb drive or dropped it in a puddle or drove over it with a truck or something like that. The thumb drives, and then the paper report that's printed out from that precinct scanner, those are returned to Norma's office along with the sealed ballot box that's locked inside the scanner. That's removed. It has 2 separate keys. It's sealed and locked. That's returned to her office, and those remain sealed, okay, until at such time there might be a hand recount, okay? And those are stored for 22 months in storage until they can be destroyed. But the reason we use a thumb drive, and we used it with the machines that you've had for the last 12 to 15 years, it's just another way to make sure to keep track of the vote totals, okay? Now, I will let you know these thumb drives are not just thumb drives you can pick up at an office supply store. We get them custom made by a government defense contractor. They're only made to work with our equipment. They're very expensive because they have very high military grade encryption on them. So these sticks are all serial numbered, and they're all programmed to work with the particular machine they go into. So if anybody ever swapped a stick out, Judge, there would instantly be an error on the machine that was accepting ballots. So it's part of all the security checks and balances that are built into the equipment. All of our equipment goes through about 1 million ballot scan tests through an independent testing agency before we even take it into federal certification. Federal certification takes several years. Then once we get it federally certified, we can bring it into Austin for the state of Texas. They do all their testing. And keep in mind, every state in the United States, they don't all have the same security guidelines when it comes to voting systems. Texas is one of the strictest states when it comes to certifying voting equipment. You can go to a state like Michigan, they don't even require certification. If I made something in my garage and I could show somebody that it worked, I could sell it. So there's a huge disparity among states about certification and security practices, and Texas is one of the strictest. That's why it takes us so long to get new equipment certified, and that's why equipment changes about every 10 to 15 years, because it's built specifically for elections and nothing else. And that's how all of that works. So yes, it does use a thumb drive, but it's not just any old thumb drive. It's a specific thumb drive that's just made specifically for us to work with our equipment.
Then, I have another question. You take the,
Yes, sir.
how are the votes actually tabulated? You take that thumb drive out of the precinct box and
It comes
the
back- it comes-
election, if
yes.
the election administrator will somehow plug it in.
Yep.
And so it won't take until 2 or 3 hours to get the numbers, or will it?
Oh, no, it'll be fairly quick. So the way the process works is your poll judge will return the printed report from that scanner, which that's going to have vote totals on it as well, okay? So you're going to have a printed report. You're going to have that thumb drive. It's going to come back in a locked bag to Norma's office, okay? On election night, as she gets a stick back from each and every precinct,
Okay.
she's going to put it into that PC. It's a standalone computer. It's just plugged into a power. It has no internet connection. Any wireless capabilities are removed. We remove all that before we send you the PC. It only has the election software on it, and that's it, okay? She'll put that thumb drive in. It'll automatically tabulate the results for that precinct. So at the end of the night, she'll have all of the unofficial results in that computer. She'll be able to provide unofficial reports, okay, as necessary, but she's also going to be able to compare what those thumb drives loaded to the printed report tape that was on those scanners. So there's a lot of checks and balances and verification that goes into it before she actually sends the final numbers to the Secretary of State's office. Once they get to the Secretary of State's office, you know, that's their thing, because they get them all from the counties, and then they process them on their end. And then the system will give her a lot of detailed capability for canvassing reports for everybody after the election's over. But that's how it works. It's the same process as with the old one. It's just the old one used a really old media card technology that was very kind of finicky, but we decided to go with a solid state USB stick. And it's going to be really quick to process results. So you guys should find that you get your results a little bit quicker with this system.
What is the timeline in replacement of the current equipment we have with this new equipment?
Oh, well, once the contract's signed, since we have all this equipment in stock, you know, we can get it out. Once the contract's signed and executed, we can get it shipped out in a couple of weeks. But she could take it whenever she's ready for it. And the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to send a certified election systems recycler out to pick up your old equipment. And what they do is they pull it all apart piece by piece and recycle the individual types of, whether it's plastic or metal, and they have to be certified to do that. And we do that for our customers just to make it easier, because that's about a $15,000 expense to pay somebody to come out. So we'll pick up all the old stuff, make sure it's recycled. We'll deliver the new stuff to Norma. We'll come out and train her on everything.
Okay.
And we'll even be available to help with the first election, which is built in here. So we want to make sure that she has all the tools and training she needs to be able to move forward.
And what was your name, sir? I didn't hear it earlier. Your name?
Matt.
Matt, okay.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
So I'm the IT guy. I'm just back here kind of moderating this meeting. There's a comment on there from an individual that said that Lavaca County uses the same system that we're looking at getting, and that there was an issue with the ballots being numbered the same. Are you aware of that, or?
Well, as far as I know, the ballots weren't numbered the same. They had a problem with they have an electronic poll book, and the election administrator there did not test their voter registration data before the election. So as a result of that, they had to hand mark the back of their ballots. Now, keep in mind, they don't use paper ballots there. They just use our ADA device for every voter to vote on.
Okay.
Still prints a ballot. It's a smaller card, but the state requires serial numbers on every ballot. So my understanding is they hand marked and sequenced ballots.
Okay.
Now, the way the system works is when a voter comes up to grab a ballot to vote on, they're supposed to have 3 or 4 ballots laid face down so they don't know what the serial numbers are, which would be the same process with a traditional ballot.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that comment.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't hear anything about them finding a ballot that was numbered the same, but yes, it is true that they had a glitch. They didn't test their voter registration file before they had it on the poll book, and as a result, they had to start the election, and they had to hand serial number the back of the ballots. But that's all they had.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? I guess that's it. We'll talk about it a little bit here.
Okay, thanks, sir.
So we have a $14,000 match. Is that coming out of a grant? Or is this county out of pocket? So to purchase this equipment, we need $14,000. Need comments, questions, motions?
Does she have that in her budget? It's because there's elections budget in her budget. Is that correct? Is there that amount in that budget?
We've looked ahead on that, so.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, I need a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve it, Judge.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the approval of the sales order agreement, by board contract 62220. I assume your company's on buy board? Need a motion to approve that, please.
So moved, Judge.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, you have copies of the mold report that we had conducted over at the Market Street Annex. Do you have any questions about that? Comments?
I have a comment. Is DPS also moved out now?
No, no. They determined it wasn't necessary. They were getting some hints of mold underneath the front windows, and it was very light. And we've talked to DPS, their facilities control individual, and they opted to stay. They didn't think that there was an issue. So most of the mold was on the north end where all the roof penetrations are, and that's what was creating the drips and therefore the leaks. And so if you don't have it, there's no action required. I just wanted you to have it. So
You saw it, you sent us the report later with the results, but they only said the south office and the DPS office on that report you had given us, that you sent us later, that I asked for.
well, I sent a letter in that the people from Austin had their directions mixed up, and they were calling
The south office.
precinct 2 the south office.
I
So
got you. Okay,
I asked them to get it squared away, and they sent us another summary.
okay. Thank you.
I would like to say, though, that there is, to correct a previous statement, there is no good mold in buildings, be it penicillin or whatever. So this is some bad stuff, and I'm glad that the JP and the secretary and the public are no longer able to get into that building. Thanks for the mold report, Judge.
Item number 6, discussion action regarding payroll transparency. I put this on there as a result of a conversation I had with Commissioner Edwards. This is, all the payroll had not been on there until we got this new program, and it just grabs everything up. So it was important at the time, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and we can make a decision on what we want to do.
Okay. Well, I just, it's like, I guess somebody asked me how many cows I have. I take it kind of personal there. I don't know what my financial station is. I think our employees are already scrutinized pretty hard, and rather than just blast it out, if somebody really wants to know, there's other ways to get the information through Open Records Act or something. I don't know. I think we owe it to our employees to give them a little bit of discretion on something like that. And that's just my feelings. I know through my life and my work career, that was something that wasn't discussed at work, was salaries. And it does sometimes cause issues that maybe we could avoid by not doing it. I don't want to say we're trying to hide anything, but I think we need to show a little discretion to our employees too.
Well, the problem with transparency is it's transparent, so that's, I don't know who the arbiter of transparency is. We'll have to appoint that. Commissioner Morales, you have a comment?
Kind of along the same lines. As long as I've been in this business, haven't told one employee what he makes versus the other one. I don't discuss that with them at all. or any of the other county employees or whoever it is. I don't tell anybody what my employees make. I mean, it's public record, like Commissioner Edwards said. If somebody wants to see what it is, file the right paperwork and come get it. You know, just like any other thing. I know it's all public record, but just to, you know, so everybody can see it. And then the morale as well, like he was mentioning, amongst the county employees.
Commissioner Brumby?
Well, I'm a firm believer in transparency. We owe it to the citizens of Goliad to let them know exactly how we're spending the money and who we're spending it on, be it a bill, be it payroll, whatever. As the other two commissioners have said, all this is open records request information. It just cuts to the chase, and I prefer to have true transparency in the county. I'd like the citizens in the county to know how we're spending our money. That's my comment.
Commissioner Bruins?
I would think this is a question for TAC. Get an answer from them, what they think and what other counties do. This is a new system that we're using, I guess, and make sure they're using the same.
Well, it's a new system, and it picked it up, but I'm sure that we can alleviate that data set if we need to. It's just whether or not we as a court decide that we want to eliminate that data set from the transparency. I don't think there's much more to it than that. We can instruct the treasurer to look at the options that are available, and we can adjust accordingly. It's just what we want to do as Commissioners Court as far as letting the public know what everyone's payroll looks like. I personally, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I understand the points that they've made about the morale, but every place I ever worked, everyone knew what everyone else made just because they made it their business to know. But I'm good with it either way. Whatever you decide to do, I'll tell you what I would propose to do tonight is to let the treasurer look at the program and see what we can do to eliminate that portion of it. And we can communicate by email to let everyone know, well, we can cut this part out or that part out. I'm assuming that you're just talking about salaries of hourly workers. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, our salaries are, everybody knows what we are because we got to post,
Salaries we draw.
We gotta post them.
Yeah. Okay.
all the hourly employees. And like I say, like Commissioner Bruins was saying, maybe have our treasurer Howard check with the TAC and see what
I can pretty much tell you what TAC's going to say there.
Okay.
They're going to say, well, we don't care if you let everybody know.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not a legal question.
No, I was just recommendations. I'm not saying about legalities, but
So what I'd like to do is task Treasurer Howard to look at what we can do to eliminate the hourly wages that are produced in the county and maybe eliminate those from publication unless someone really wants to see them.
that would be my thought, yes.
And we can join back up at the next commissioners meeting and make a decision if that's okay. So with that, we'll move on.
We want to table that then?
I'm sorry?
You want, I had a,
Discussion only. You don't
oh,
have to table
it didn't say action?
No, sir.
It said discussion.
Mine doesn't say action.
Mine says action, so,
Yours says action?
yeah, it does. So I'll tell you what, I need a motion to table this until the next
So moved.
meeting. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone have a public announcement they would like to make? Anyone? With that, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So move, Judge.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.